From downtown Decatur, it's the Faber Files. Hello, I'm your host, Bill Faber. Welcome to the Faber Files, a public access TV program where citizens' conversation is aired on TV. No other place in the Decatur area, public broadcasting, private broadcasting, radio, or newspaper, do you find extended conversation about issues and interests of our community. Tonight's guest is Bill Oliver, currently a county board member from District 2, probably the most elected official presently serving in the Decatur-Macon County area. Bill Oliver, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's really a privilege to have you here, Bill. I've admired your work and your dedication to our community from afar, and now we get a chance to sit down at the table and have a conversation.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to do that, and so we'll see where we go from here.
You had mentioned that you've been through, with primaries and general elections, over 10 election cycles.
That was just for the county board.
Just for the county
But
board?
I served on the city council for 20 years, so that was another 10 elections.
And your last year of service was 98, and then you hopped on to
97.
97,
97.
And then in 98 you were on the county board.
Right, been there ever since.
You've seen a lot of changes in Decatur.
That I have. I've lived in Decatur well over 50 years, and I've seen it change very much so.
What do you feel is the most pressing issue facing the Decatur families and the Decatur community and Decatur government?
Of course, the main thing right now is jobs.
Jobs.
Jobs. And with the employment, we can do a lot of things in this community, and that takes care of your tax situation, your quality of life, quantity of life. All those things come about by having full employment, as much as toward full as you can get. The educational system, of course, we're trying to do something about that now. When I came to Decatur several years ago, it was over 20,000 students in the system, and it was rated as one of the better school districts in the state of Illinois. I don't know exactly what happened, but I think a lot of it had to do with just being satisfied that we were living off our past reputation, not really keeping up with the educational system, and so I think we're paying something for that. But we have the people here and the will to do those things, and I think we will.
How do you feel about the referendum that has just passed the Macon County with regard to sales tax?
Well, as you know, the county board is dealing with the referendum from that standpoint, and we had a discussion as late as last night on how people felt about the proposed tax and what its ramifications are going to be as far as the citizens are concerned. Personally, I think it's very well needed. Our school houses, school homes have been deteriorated so badly over the years that there's no way that we can get anything done without having to go to a tax of some kind to do it. We're at the limit as far as taxation is concerned. And one of the very difficult things to do, and I'm so very proud that it did happen, is to get the public itself to vote a new tax increment upon themselves. And I think that we're going to be able to do some things with it because it's set up in such a way by law that all of the funds raised out of this tax has to go toward the implementation of school properties, buildings, in some cases clearing up finally some things to do with the asbestos situation in schools, which has been, I don't know how many years that we're supposed to have had asbestos cleanups in our buildings. We haven't done that. The windows, the roofs, 50-year-old buildings that are just in ridiculous shape. They can't meet anything to do with the current needs that we have for electricity to run our computers and all of the other entities that a modern day school system needs to function. And if anyone thinks that that is not true, they should be able to take a look at a school. They should go and look at the buildings and see what's going on and see what the children have to do to go to school. They have leaks, they have air coming into schools, they're not heated well, they're not cooled well. It's just a real problem.
How do we explain that our community and other communities around the country have allowed their schools to deteriorate in such a way when our children are supposed to be so important and education so important?
I think that's one of the last things that they really look at from the standpoint of the needs for the buildings themselves and where they need to operate from. They're more concerned about what they get out of the classroom as far as curriculum is concerned, but not about the infrastructure. And infrastructure has gone to pieces because we got people coming back looking at those buildings now. Well, I went to school here back in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, and we didn't have this then, and things were starting to deteriorate then. So what do you think has happened 30 years
Sure.
later? And some of those same people that are voting for this thing, for or against it, have got grandchildren that are going to the same school they did, and more than likely using the same desk.
What do you feel was the thinking of the good people who voted against the tax increase? Good people voting against an increase for the maintenance of the buildings. What was their motivation?
To vote against? Well, I haven't been fully able. I haven't been able to understand it fully exactly why some of it. Some people are just against taxes, period,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the ramifications that they use for that have really amazed me. I think some of them are confused it with the real estate tax more than they are with the sales tax. But the 1% sales tax, I think, is a great way to do this, and it takes the pressure off of the real estate taxes. In some cases, in some of the districts, the real estate tax will be lowered because when you get your tax bill and over 50% of it goes to education. That gives you some thought about taxes, and this is going to be one that not only be shared by the people of the county, but anybody that comes into the county spends any money will get some of that too.
Sure, sure. Can we step back and talk about the number one issue that you raised that faced our community, Bill, and that is jobs, jobs, jobs? What can the Decatur community, the Decatur leaders, the government do to bring new jobs, good jobs, for our families here?
Well, we can furnish the infrastructure. We can furnish the idea of trying to get them all they can get without having to go through a bunch of red tape. Make it easy for them to have water, roads, the electrical facilities and so forth that are needed to make a business go. But as far as government's concerned, and I have a saying about that, government makes nothing. They don't build tanks, they don't build cars, they don't even make pencils, they make nothing but debt. That's all government does. And that's my philosophy about government. So actually government cannot make jobs or produce jobs, but they can make the areas that they'd like to see developed conducive to bringing people into our community to utilize what we have. We have the good education system, we have water, we have rail, we have road transportation, everything it would take to do that. Then we have an ideal situation to have people come into our community. And I think that that's been proven several times over when we look at ADM bringing their headquarters here, the world headquarters here. Caterpillar still has a big unit here, and count upon Decatur as being one of their primary sources of their company. And of course, in years past, in their yearly annual meetings of the company, they would always talk about Decatur and what a great job and what kind of products that was produced here. But if you take Decatur over the years, we were part of the Manhattan Project for the atomic bomb. We have always had great railroads here. The Wagner Company was one of the best producers of malleable iron that was in the country. A Staley Company, of course, speaks for itself in corn products and soybean products. And of course, one of the great advents we had was ADM, and still is ADM with what they're doing in the city of Decatur. We have one of the most philanthropic cities in the country, and in Decatur, Illinois, if you need help, you can find it here in this town. And it's always opened its heart up to those people who need, and give unequivocally just time after time after time. And I think this is one of the things, is one of the greatest selling points for our city. We are who we are because we do what we should do to take care of our fellow man and take care of the city's interests. So those people that for years and years and years it gave their livelihoods, their dreams and so forth, and based them here in Decatur and made the city what it is. When you go back in Decatur's history, you can see some of those names and some of the businesses and so forth that were here. It gives you a feeling of pride to know that this is the kind of town it's always been. So I am very much enthused about the people that are in places now that are government officials, especially the city. I think we have one of the best city councils that we've ever had in recent years. Also, the county board has done its thing. It's come from a $3 million deficit into being in the black. The city government, which all governments are having trouble, but none like we have. I think we're head and shoulders above a lot of communities in this state.
You know, when I walk my precinct as a precinct committeeman and I talk to my neighbors and friends about government, I tell them the success story of the Macon County government. And you're on that board, and you guys have just done an outstanding job of fiscal responsibility under the leadership of your chairman, Jay Dunn, and the cooperation between the Republicans and the Democrats really is an example of what can be done when Americans work together as Americans, not as ideologues.
Well, that's true, and then one of the things that's helped the city more than anything else is not to have partisan politics in it, and that did away with the labels of Republican and Democrats. And of course, in the county, it's a little different, but then when we take into consideration that we all have to get things done, we have to do them in the most economic way we can for the citizens to get the job done. It's really been something, but you can go back before done, when you go back to John Snyder, to Bob Sampson, and trying to think of a couple other people that were before that. But anyway, these are the guys that took a stand, and we're going to make this thing work and make it work right. That has been a remarkable thing about what's made this government change.
You know, Bill, as I think about media and how it covers politics and local politics, what is interesting is so often the media is anxious to hop on stories about conflict and failure, but when you have a success story, it doesn't really get much play, and there has been really little coverage about the great success, the financial responsibility of the Macon County Board.
That's true, but you see television every day that the most news stories you get is always something in the negative. Mm-hmm. It's always a storm or a plane crash or a robbery or a death. But it's very few of the stories that, like you're saying, that make up the human interest side of life.
You know, I hear people criticize government all the time, and rightly so. But what seems to me that they fail to understand is that the government is us.
Right.
And sometimes I think they need to hear the success stories of government so they have some positive feelings about what is possible.
Well, that's the thing about it. I think when you talk about government, it gets lost into a one-word phrase. And a lot of people don't consider government being people that make up the government. We say the government does this, the government does that, but it's only because decisions are made by those people in that particular governmental entity, and it comes out as a single voice then. But then the makeup of that government is the people that voted those particular people in. And I've always said, if you want to change things, then change your government. And that has started to ring true in a lot of cases with a lot of people, as in this last election we just had nationwide, as well as some of the local politics.